When I was a child, I was brought up in Lincolnshire, in Spalding, and uh, one of the events I looked forward to every year was the Spalding Flower Parade and the festival, and it was wonderful. And uh, I spent a lot of time on farms, and so I was very much aware of the sudden influx of foreign tulip pickers, first to take the heads off the flowers and then a few weeks later to pick up the bulbs. And the economy was based on this influx of workers, a huge number that suddenly came into the area and then suddenly left. And they went from farm to farm. And it was a terribly effective system, and it produced the flower festival for 50 odd years. And then EU legislation made this impossible, uh, and, and there was legislation at the beginning of the present Conservative term of office, and the flower festival died almost overnight, because it was impossible to employ people on a permanent or semi-permanent basis. That chain of migrant workers was essential, and not to get it from Eastern Europe meant we didn't get it at all, because European workers had to be employed on a full-time basis, and British workers absolutely. So suddenly this idea of a migrant workforce, which was the basis on which almost all farm work has been done since the 18th century, this peripatetic workforce. You see it beautifully portrayed in Tess of the D'Urbervilles. Tough, but essential. Take that away, and the business crumbles. And that's what we've seen in Lincolnshire and around Spalding. The business dies, the town centre dies, and what's it replaced by? How oddly and ironically, it's been replaced by an influx of migrants who now don't seem to have any focus, and there's a lot of frustration in the area. And indeed, it was one of those areas which voted overwhelmingly for Brexit. And it's rather sad. It's rather sad to see something that worked so well destroyed by sort of knee-jerk political ideology. First by Europe, and then by Britain. And so Brexit sort of puts the cap on the entire system. And now we're going to destroy it even further. We're going to destroy the alternative. The alternative was to rely on Dutch flower growers and the wholesalers, the horticultural wholesalers, who bring in huge amounts of flowers from the Netherlands, particularly to satisfy our floral lust, our orchidacous desire on Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. And yet, Brexit is introducing a post-border regime where flowers fall into the category of medium and high-risk animal and plant products from the 31st of January. And physical inspection of these goods will start at the end of April. So falling heavily into the various celebrations. And chrysanthemums, carnations, orchids are some of the flowers which will be particularly inspected. Now, at the moment, there are inspections, but those inspections can take place in garden centres after the flowers have been delivered, meaning that plants can be cared for even while they're awaiting inspection. They can be kept in a decent fridge. They can be they can be sorted. But after April, all that is going to stop, because they're going to have to be sorted or they're going to have to be checked in the lorries in which they arrive. So, given the efficiency of the lorry checkers so far, given the wonderful delight in queues so far, this can only get worse. And the chances of picking up a phone and saying, "Oh, could I have a dozen orchids tomorrow morning?" That's going to be a distant memory. That simply isn't going to happen under this legislation. And what's it for? I don't understand why we are changing from one system which works perfectly well at the moment to another system which is going to queer everything up, except some sort of ideology, some sort of consistency, some sort of insane desire to destroy what little business we can enjoy. So our lives become greyer and greyer and greyer. And this the new checks which are going, it's not as if, unlike countries like Australia, we no longer grow these things. So it's not as if we can rely on our own flowers and floral arrangements and no, we have become entirely dependent on imports because we destroyed our own business. We destroyed our own business, and I've done so many posts about that destruction in the early days of the Conservative Party. Eustace, I think the name of the person was, or Useless, and it can go back to very specific legislation, which in turn was based on a European drive, and it killed the industry overnight. For what? For what? And this, I think, is going to go much the same way. For what? To make people sadder, to make people's lives less colourful. I don't know. It's regrettable, isn't it? Isn't it regrettable? And just go back and have a look on the internet at the wonderful pictures of the Spalding Flower Parade. You'll see what we're missing. And we really are missing it. And there's nothing to replace it. It's not as if our lives have got better. I come back to the same thing that I say again and again and again. If Brexit is so wonderful, tell me, what are the Brexit benefits? Give me some.